Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the European LCS and Piratechnics, and I'm joined by Alphari, who's now 4-0 in Misfits. Dude, I talked to your teammates yesterday, and you guys didn't seem super happy with the win. Was today better?
Yeah, I think we played better today. It wasn't flawless, but I still think we made improvements to yesterday as to how we actually made proactive plans.
Well, it seemed like you were able to execute and just kind of close a little more cleanly. Now, you played yourself the Ornn. I've been seeing a lot of this champion right now. It's doing a lot of damage, but it still never dies. How are you enjoying this top lane terror?
Honestly, I don't enjoy playing Ornn too much because, especially against Braum, but this game we had a pretty good comp to play against Braum anyway, so I was able to get ultis off anyway. But as far as tanks go, he is like one of the more enjoyable ones because he used to do so much damage. But yeah, he's not so enjoyable because he still is a tank.
Well, is that why you're kind of playing him a little bit more like a carry? Would you prefer that there were a little bit more carries in vogue right now?
To be honest, like there are carries involved right now, like Aatrox and Darius. They said like pretty good champions as well. Both were banned these games though, and although carries are still strong, like I still feel like tanks are just safer, and maybe they suit our playstyle a little bit better at the moment.
Fair enough, and that, of course, seems to be the meta. Now, your team has had a 4-0 start. This is a very, very solid start for you guys. Who do you see challenging Misfits in the near future?
I think G2 look the strongest right now, although Vitality also look really good as well. But I would say G2 is for sure like the best-looking team, and Vitality can cause us troubles as well.
Well, let's see if that ends up happening now. Last question I have for you here, Alphari. We've said that Misfits are on a redemption split right now. Is that the kind of message that Moose is trying to instill into you guys every single day, or is it just get out there and win the games?
Yeah, I mean, Moose make sure to remind us that is our redemption split. Although it's not, you know, hammered in too much. At the end of the day, like if we lose some games, as long as we make playoffs, you know, that's a redemption split. As far as I'm concerned, obviously, like I'll not get the Worlds, but you know, anything will be better than that split. So.
Well, you got to make playoffs. You got to get to yourself to Worlds. Yeah. Thank you for joining me. Congratulations on your win, man.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to go ahead and send it off to the pregame.
Thank you very much, Pyra. Fantastic performance from Alphari. Some would say player of the game worthy with the amount of impact he had. But of course, Hansama was in the mix, so Hansama won.
What? Hansama? What? That's such a surprise. It's almost like what Maxwell said yesterday in PGL came true. Guys, he died again today. He's now at 2 deaths during the regular season. His KDA is ruined.
Yeah, but
how can you keep voting for him? It's over.
You know what? You want some context? Maxlor can give it to us, and he did on PGL. So let's take a look at exactly what he said about his teammate.
You know, if you get Hansama, we all know as a team that even if you deserved MVP, no matter what, if Hansama is on the Twitter votes, he will always get the vote. It's so unfair. Yeah, this man right here.
Look at him.
Yeah, but I don't know what to do. Like, I can try to carry the game alone. You know, I could like get that really high DPM, but it doesn't matter because this guy's got like, he's played Draven for 5 years, and so he's got that last hitting mechanic really up to scratch when it comes to kills.
Did he die this game? Always great to hear from Maxwell.
Just a reminder that everyone on that team is aware. If Hansama is on the, we might have to give Hansama automatic player of the game. Who's your second choice?
Yeah.
Who else would you give it to outside of Hansama? You can't vote for Hansama anymore.
You gotta pick somebody else, guys. It's not fair. It's like when Reckless is in the poll for so many games, but he's not this time around. You'll find out about that in Game 5. However, in our next game, we've got G2 Esports going up against H2k. Now, after losing in the spring finals to Fnatic, the former champions have bounced back. They're currently undefeated in the summer split, and really, they're looking good.
Yes, they are. G2 looking just as dominant as Misfits so far this split. Their early game has been fantastic, and it's been very much a redemption story for this team. Even though they made it to the finals, they got crushed by Fnatic, and they want to prove that the growth that they made during the regular season and the changes that they've brought coming into this split are in effect, and we are seeing them right from the get-go.
It really says something about the caliber of this organization when you're talking about a redemption split after a split they made the finals.
Right?
Yeah, but that's it. That's G2, baby. And look at this man on the screen. This is the geezer you're looking at if you're looking at G2.
Absolutely. When we saw his performance yesterday, it was very clear. Yes, PerkZ popped off, but it was Wunder who really set this team up for success.
And look at that, a level down in this clip. How do you get solo kills in a tank versus tank matchup when you're a level down? Well, just be Wunder. Apparently that's how you make it happen.
It's just the power of Wunder, my friend. This guy was praised as being the best performing top laner last split, and He, in the finals, had all 3 bans targeted towards him. Gangplank, Fiora, Camille, every single game. He's expanded his pool a little bit. He's proving that he can still carry on tanks. He is becoming that big threat towards the top side of the map for G2. And given the bot lane is no longer a detriment, this whole G2 squad just seems to constantly be working together and finding so much success.
Looks out for them now, of course. G2 being such a terrifying team. You took some time, Vedius, as an analyst, to identify a strategy that might work for these guys. For anyone who wants to take on G2, been VoD reviewing and thinking intensely to figure out how you beat G2.
But I'm missing something. Because
this is what you've solved so far.
I went and did some intense VoD reviews last night. I've been really thinking a lot about it. And these are kind of the letters that came to me. Now, this is kind of where I think some stuff is missing. So, Foxdrop, can you help me figure out what I'm missing?
You have a decent amount of letters here already, mate.
Yeah.
So props for that. But Kai'Sa?
Ooh, LS suggested Ben Kai'Sa, and that it might be a person.
Kai'Sa? Yeah, that could, yeah, Ben is a name as well. It could be that as well.
That's pretty close. So,
it could be that.
But what if it's Ben Kai'Sa? PerkZ is really good at this champion. Stop giving it to him. You need to deny the champ. The team effect is so good when they just play around this strategy, and it's worked so many times for them. Just ban the damn champion.
Wait, so it wasn't Bon?
No, it was ban Kai'Sa.
I'm down for Ben Kai'Sa. But on the other, I mean, this is true, right? This champion is so good. The final strat is so good. And G2 are one of the few teams, pretty much the only team, who've been consistently good at executing it and not falling behind. And that's a pretty tough thing to deal with, because if you look at their opponents on the other side, we have H2k. These guys are on the verge of going 0-4 over the first 2 weeks. And we asked for more yesterday. We wanted to see more in their game. And sadly for H2k, they failed to deliver.
They almost delivered. We asked a lot of Shook, especially, to have a little bit more action in the early game, and he did get that early game, got a flash, but wasn't really able to contribute that into anything meaningful as the game went on, and the H2k looking still quite shaky.
He is the geezer that we've been keeping our eyes on to try and have that early game impact. But so far, he has struggled. Eyes will still be on Shook, because we do know that there are superstars in the form of Sheriff and Selfie that can perform, especially in the early game, especially when you look back to their series of Vitality. But it all comes down to this jungler who needs to have that impact.
It absolutely does, but I have word the champion select is ready. So we're going to find out. Can H2k pull off the upset? Can they show us more today? We're going to find out as we send it over to our casters.
Thank you very much, Drakos. Yesterday, H2k were more like E2k. Easy to kill on Summoner's Rift. G2...
That heck.
Well, it's true.
I mean, it's true.
It's true. They were very easy to kill. Let's be honest here, and they were not going to pull any punches. G2 have not been doing that either with their hyper-carry Kai'Sa compositions.
I think Vedius was onto something. I think banning Kai'Sa, bold as it may be, is the best strategy for H2k in this game, because it's not fun to play against. It really isn't. You make one mistake and it's downhill.
Exactly. All it takes is a couple of kills on the Kai'Sa, a couple of mispositions from your top laner, like we saw Schalke yesterday, and that's just Kai'Sa becoming uncontrollable in the game. However, H2k have in the past shown us their ability to upset some of the top dogs here in Europe. I remember the middle of last split when they started absolutely dominating and winning so many games time after time. I have to see if this is the start of that run for them. G2 get rid of Ryze and the Zillion. H2k remove the Heimerdinger and the Talia.
I'm very happy to see the Heimerdinger ban. I was actually going to bring that up. Wasn't sure if H2k were going to do it, even though it has looked like Hjärnan's best champion. There are a lot of other characters that are pretty good at the moment. Kai'Sa being the other one, they have 20 seconds. It's not going to be that. So G2 maybe first pick the Braum here to set up for that carry comp.
It's quite possible.
That's what they've done in all their other games.
I'm a little bit sad because I talked to Wadid the other day and he said, you know what, I'll do medic, I'll play Nocturne support for you. And now Nocturne's banned for H2k.
How did they know?
They removed the ability to play Nocturne support, but there is the Braum that you were talking about. This carry composition, this funnel composition is already looking in the works for G2.
So there's two different things H2k can do right now. One, pick Kai'Sa. Do it. Okay, we don't even have to go into the other ones.
Excellent.
So I was going to say, get that away from PerkZ, and then also pick some early playmaking. And now G2, they have to decide. Does PerkZ play another carry, Master Yi, we've seen Graves paired with the Braum as well, or they can actually just pivot and put Braum support and play standard.
There's a lot of different options for them, as you say. If it's the Lucian, you'd expect it to be a standard Braum support. Could be Lucian mid.
I don't know what to expect anymore, Medic.
That's true. That's true. I think perhaps I'm predicting a little bit too much, but we will wait and hopefully this draft will deliver as much excitement as we've had across the rest of the tournament. There is Aatrox locked in as well for G2.
And Wunder's played that one time so far this split. It has been a champion that has gotten a lot of bans thrown his way, thrown a lot of the ways of the other top laners in the league as well. H2k now, though, what do they take against it? One of the picks I actually really like is the Jax up against the Aatrox. Unfortunately, it could just be the Dr. Mundo. Oh, let's do it. It's been picked in a few other regions. I really like this. All right.
You've been absolutely on point with your predictions today. You said Kai'Sa was going to get picked, then the Jax, you're bringing it in. Now, what is it about, while we go through the second phase of bans, we've got a little bit of time, why is it that the Jax appeals to you here into the Aatrox?
So very quickly, Aatrox and Jax are both giant balls of stats that like to auto-attack each other. Jax has better stats from his ultimate. He also has the E to dodge away from those auto attacks. It's a very strong trading tool. It does take a little while to come online, similar to the Aatrox as well, but he should be winning out in the side lane later on in the match.
Okay, so the stat ball is in H2K's
so many
favor
stats.
at the moment. The scoreline, however...
Big stats.
Big stats. The scoreline, however, in favor of G2, because they're 3-0 and H2K 0-3, yet to pick up a win here in Summer Split. They will remove the Irelia from the pool. G2 looking for their next ban. Fiddlesticks in that bottom lane, something we've seen commonly across the last few days.
So my next prediction is going to be that G2 have pivoted away. They're not going to play a hyper carry for PerkZ. My main reasoning behind that is that Kai'Sa is one of the weaker laning marksmen. She's very exploitable in those early levels, and Lucian Braum, that's kill lane. You land one Winter's Bite, Lucian dashes forward, and you look for blood. I'd really like to see that out of Hjärnan and Wadid, who've taken on a little bit more responsibility, I think, so far this split.
That's the question, though, for Hjärnan and Wadid. Is it that they're taking on more responsibility, or is it that they're playing easier lanes to play? They don't have to play AD carries anymore. If you play Heimerdinger Fiddle, you push the lane, you walk away. You shore up your weakness as G2 without actually having to make your players any better.
Exactly. I'll take that, you know.
I'm not saying that's the case.
They're a little easy, sure. But I think the key difference is that G2, in their first game of the split, played through Hjärnan and Wadid in the bottom lane. Really gave them resources to carry on those two more unique picks back at that time. But I know this is a pick that Foxy on the desk is going to love here. Shook on Lee Sin, though. This isn't a player that usually go, wow, put him on the playmakers. He's usually a facilitator for the team, but now he's got to be getting in the backline and making stuff happen.
I have to remember, it is his most played across the course of his career. He's played it 43 times with a 56% win rate. So, yes, he hasn't played it recently, but he played it a long time ago.
That's a Hyper Lucian, I believe.
Yes, so your prediction was wrong. I'm sorry, Andy. Everyone gets one wrong in the end.
I really didn't think they were going to go Lucian in the jungle.
Lucian in the jungle with the Karma, with the Alistar, and the Braum to help him out. That is a very heavily funneled strategy on towards PerkZ. H2K looking at the Tahm Kench as their final pick here. Could go for the Morgana as well to try and get a little bit of CC control for themselves, and that's what it's going to be.
There they go. So the reason why you take the funnel comps into H2K, these guys struggle in the early game. We saw Fnatic do it to them yesterday. Now G2 have their opportunity again, because against this composition, you have to be hyper aggressive in the early game. All of a sudden, we're going to be looking at Shook. He's on the Lee Sin. He's got to be finding PerkZ and Jankos in their jungle, invading there with Selfie as well to make stuff happen. Because if you don't, it doesn't work.
It's been one of the key weaknesses for H2K as well, has been that disconnect between Shook and the rest of his team. Sometimes he'll invade when his team's gone back to base. Sometimes he won't relieve pressure on his lanes when he needs to. They need to shore up whatever is happening there communication-wise to actually make themselves on the same page.
And the one concern I have for H2K in this draft is that you look at a lot of their champions, it's much more on the scaling side of things. The Kai'Sa in the bottom lane, Vladimir, Jax, all these champions really turn on at 2 or 3 items. So it's all up to Shook. Shook, and maybe they can get Promisq on the Morgana going for some invades, because you do not want to stall out against 3 supports and a Lucian. That man is going to be deadly with 6 items.
He is. He doesn't even need to get there. We saw the Kai'Sa, usually about level 16, probably about the 20-minute mark. That's when she really came online. Lucian, we're looking at that 3-4 item point really for the facilitation. Do have to remember that shields were nerfed on patch 8.12, so the Karma shield won't be as strong. Ardent Sensor won't be as good as well, removed 2% off the heal and shield power there, but PerkZ has shown us very often that he can dodge around skill shots in the middle of a fight. Gonna jump onto the rep for G2 and H2K's last game of the week. H2k trying to find a win somewhere here in Summer Split. Do not want to repeat their performance in Spring.
It's been a tough couple of games for H2k, especially because they had such a good spurt at the end of the Spring Split, and things just have not gotten off to that same great start. I already like this out of Shook, so I, alongside Foxy, we're both Lee Sin players, and already I see that rejuvenation bead start out of the Lee Sin. He doesn't lose much health in the jungle, and the rejuve bead lets him get into that Tiamat. He's going to be trying to power farm and probably counter jungle camps away from PerkZ here, because that is one of the great things to do against the hyper carry strat. Invade, take their camps, and all of a sudden, they can't be miles and miles ahead of you.
And one of the reasons I really like Lee Sin at the moment as well is he's received consistent buffs across the last couple of patches.
He's been Graves.
The
multiple
Graves
buffs in a row.
He got buffed on 8-11 where they increased his passive rejuvenation of energy. Then he got buffed on 8-12 where they increased his decreased his W cooldown and increased the base damage on his E. He now gets cooldown reduction on the second part of all of his spells as well. So overall, Lee Sin is in a much stronger spot than he was in Spring Split.
And this is a new look. The funnel strat invading at level 1, the power of the Braum. We see so many teams walk into the enemy jungle, and Shook's not even getting at least this is bad. He's not going to see it coming.
That is the worst timing. Shook in the dark. Maybe says something. Jankos there. Exhaust comes out as well, looking for the final shot. Concussive blows. PerkZ is going to be given this kill. Shook with a good smite, but it's not enough. First blood to PerkZ.
Add insult to injury. Wunder's like, yeah, you guys got this. I'm going to go farm top lane. It's totally fine. PerkZ 4 and 5 on Lucian, but usually he's playing Lucian in the mid lane. This, you don't even have a laning phase. You just go kill the enemy jungle at level 1 and snowball from there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good start for G2. It wasn't a good start for PerkZ when he played Lucian originally. He had a very bad record to start off, but now has started to get a few of these wins under his belt. We'll be looking to add a 5th here as well.
Oh no.
You see, Shook he doesn't know what's coming.
I feel for him, man, because where's his top laners? Top laners should be in that tri-brush, spotting out the invade coming. He did everything in his power, but I think using the smite there was actually a mistake. Now he doesn't have the smite for helping him on the blue buff. He's going to lose so much HP off that, not have the red, and not be able to have an impact for quite some time now.
You can see as well, Vladimir not the best at pushing lanes early on, means that PerkZ and Jankos can just come across, looking for the blows here, the flash away. Selfie trying to get to safety, but PerkZ and Jankos just force him back. And PerkZ already in a very strong position.
See, it's funny too, because I was like, man, Lucian Braum in the bot lane, that's kill lane. You can, make plays happen and look for kills. But with a red buff, Lucian is even stronger, and he might find Shook again, who has to ward hop out because he's got no flash.
Yep, did get the Scuttle Crab there. So that's one benefit for him. Top side Scuttle Crab went across to PerkZ. He's now going to go to his red buff, still has the blue buff, still has the entire bot side jungle, and Selfie cannot push out the lane quickly enough to actually do anything about it. So let's look at where H2k may have a strength. Bot lane, Sheriff is on this Kai'Sa. If he can get to 2 items, we have seen Kai'Sas take over the game in the past.
It's true, and Sheriff should have a pretty free laning phase. When you go against the Karma Alistar, you expect to beat them. They're not really going to be able to do much to you unless they get some assistance from the rest of their team. So scaling up is an option for Sheriff in the bottom lane, but you compare a Kai'Sa on 2 items to a level 16 Lucian on 3.5, and that's where things get a little bit out of their favor.
I do just want to say, as a support main, I've played Alistar for a very long time, right? Since about Season 2. And this Alistar skin tilts me no end.
What?
Okay? No. It's an amazing skin. I love the skin. It looks gorgeous.
The splash art is
amazing.
sick.
The splash art is sick, but you can only get it through gemstones, right? I love Mukau Alistar, but now all I see is people using this skin and taunting me because I don't have enough gemstones. I don't get enough chests to get this Alistar skin.
Medic,
and I'm yearning for it. I mean, it's like...
No, I get it. I need it. Maybe you should become a pro player so you get everything unlocked.
That's my plan, eventually.
How's it going?
Not that well. Diamond 3
like Shook's early game?
Like Shook's early game, indeed. But, at the moment, things are looking very good for G2 as well. Sure, they'll be picking up all the chests they can and all the CS they can onto PerkZ as well. Yet to back, sitting at 37 farm. Getting himself a blue buff and a gromp as well. All by his lonesome, getting the experience, getting everything that he needs.
Then he'll want to go back to base because that first purchase is going to be a whopper. He's sitting around 2K gold at the moment. Be working towards very likely the warrior enchantment as Shook. He's looking for a gank in the top side of the map with Wunder.
Well, that's a ball of stat hitting a ball of stats, and Wunder uses his flash to get out of the stats fight
That is
up
cheating.
towards the top side. Is that cheating? I didn't realize.
I think so. It's very dishonorable. But then again, so is bringing your jungler, so I cut Wunder some slack.
If it's a 1v1 and then he flashes away, that's dishonorable. But hey,
Let me get
2v1
this
is a
straight.
little bit-
Jax and Aatrox are two of the most honorable champions in the game.
Yes. Jax won't even use a real weapon.
It's true. He's somewhat of a fool, but he's honorable at least. Trustworthy.
It's the same if, you know, if you ever got into a fight with Vedius. Vedius would not use a real weapon against you because he's too strong.
He should. Did you see that sumo video?
Yeah, that was a bit of a disgrace,
Yikes.
in all honesty. But let's have a look at H2k on the other side of the Rift to G2 at the moment. They have not had the best of starts to this split. Their strength in laning phase hasn't been great. Their objective control has been diabolically bad as well. Riftail's only 7th, only got 1. Dragons only getting 18% of the Dragons in the game, not got a Baron yet as well. They are not the team that you expect to have early game control.
Yeah, and it is what you expect when you see a team that goes 0-3 at the start of EU LCS, but you can't play that slowly against this style of composition. Shook has finally gone back to base. He's gotten himself that Tiamat, so I'm still looking at him. He was slowed down, but he's not out of the game just yet. Top lane is vulnerable without a flash. Invading the jungler with Selfie. Now that Selfie has level 6 on the Vladimir 2 could be an option. I just need to see some movement out of them. Otherwise, it's rough.
Okay, so I'm gonna, you kind of gave me the big picture there. You said, this is what I kind of want H2k to do. This is the idea. I want you to be specific. I want you to tell me exactly what you would do right now if you were in H2k's shoes to stop this funnel comp from working.
I need Shook to come to the mid lane on this next wave, help Selfie shove out the lane. That way, they get lane priority, and then they need to become best friends and walk into the enemy jungle, but Selfie can't 1v1 this.
Emo play comes out from Selfie, gonna pop the second ball as well at the end. Jankos only there in the last
Selfie.
second. Selfie survives, it's fine. He knew he judged it.
He had no flash either.
Calculated
That was very close. I mean, my heart, it's fluttering just a little bit, but there you see it. The whole plan is lost, because what you need to do against this style of composition, you need to work so well as a team. 5 members on HK need to pressure in, and Shook. It's a level 5 to level 7, this is rough.
And PerkZ jumping in, the Morgana binding one land as well, but Jankos is still behind. If they can somehow manage to catch out the Braum in one of these fights, they can shut him down. We saw Selfie and Sheriff coming into the mid lane to try and push out the wave as well, but still, funnel strategy, perfect working order here for G2. We haven't really talked much about the top lane. There's about an 8 CS advantage for Wunder, but really, this game rests on the shoulders of PerkZ.
Absolutely. Absolutely it does. And H2k's best chance to really punish him was before that first recall, because that's when the support is under-leveled, the carry has not spent his gold, and because of that brilliant invade call from G2, they're able to shut him down and really stop it. But now, level 4 Braum, this is very disrespectful.
Selfie there, Shook from the side, but doesn't go in.
I think you take that. Look, you have this huge level lead. You can kick him underneath the tower, burst him with Selfie. The only thing that was stopping H2k, I think, was the lack of the Hemo Plague on the Vlad.
But you have
that was
flash.
it.
It doesn't matter. You kick him under your tower. Shook is just not on the same page and not aggressive enough for his team. We've seen other members of this team step up. Selfie, Sheriff, across the last few weeks have stepped up, but at the moment, it feels like Shook is just not being the jungler his team needs.
Here we go, though. Now Selfie has that lane priority out of the mid. Shook is on vision, but this is the style of play we need to see out of him. I think Raptor Camp becomes very, very valuable. Oh, no. Okay, so that didn't work. Shook, new game plan. It appears to be dive bot lane, but this is rather risky.
Wadid called out, doesn't have the unbreakable will yet. Here comes the teleport in from Smittyj as well. There's the flash kick. Sheriff jumps in as well with the Void of Soul. That's one. Now they look for Hjärnan underneath the tower. Smittyj can't land the counter strike, but Hjärnan still under the tower is going to get caught out. Smittyj will solidify this kill. Great stuff from H2k.
PerkZ is in there.
PerkZ is coming in for the fight. Ignite down. PerkZ jumped on by Smittyj, jumps away, gets one. Can't quite land the binding.
Oh, Shook so close.
That's what we want to see from H2k, though. Make the play.
Exactly the move we needed out of them. Wunder didn't have TP, Smittyj did. Shook, it was all planned to let the red buff reset. Makes his way into the bottom lane, and now they've got the first turret. This is beautiful. This is perfect for that.
A little bit more impetus, a little bit of a faster tempo here for H2k. They get a 1,000 gold lead. It's not monumental, but it's something.
And Shook is in this bush. Excellent insect right about now. Ward hops forward. Flash kick into the delivery system there with Sheriff, and Hjärnan, he's just alone. Karma under the turret doesn't stand much of a chance. While that was all happening, PerkZ, I mean, respect to him to jump over this wall, knowing the absolute limits of this champion to turn it around and actually escape with his life.
Exhaust perfectly timed by Jankos as well, because I think Smittyj would have taken him out otherwise, but that's so much more what you want to see from H2k. However, is it too little too late? I feel that might be a little bit early for me to say. We're only 10 minutes into the game, but H2k are still even in gold with G2, where G2 are happy just to wait for a couple more items on this Lucian.
It's not too late for H2k. They need to use this momentum they just created out of the bottom lane, and now they've got the top, their duo on the top side. They can use that to their advantage. Right now, G2 are going to take that Infernal. That's fine for H2k. The stats from the Infernal are going to pay off later in the game when they should lose against this Lucian anyways. Now it's time to get the Herald, take gold, because that is how you beat the strategy early.
Problem I'm starting to see though, Smittyj teleported away from the lane, now is a level behind Wunder and about 30 CS in the hole as well. That ball of stats for Wunder is getting bolstered by the Tiamat, by the Jerome's Fist as well. We need to see Smittyj really get back into that lane. Wadid's coming across here, caught out with the binding, teleport coming in as well. Shook smites the Rift Herald, Sheriff jumps away, TPU, Shook can just jump across this wall if he's got the safeguard. Here comes PerkZ as well, caught with the binding, the kick away from Shook, but the Winter Spike will land in the end. The Glacial Fissure used, and Wunder gets the kill.
I'm going to call Worth for H2k. Obviously didn't want to lose Shook in that fight, but they did pick up the Rift Herald with him. That's why he had to go down. He had to stick around to grab that for himself. And now, money going back into the pocket of Smittyj. He couldn't TP in this time, but for the 1v1, he's going to be all right.
It's Smittyj's birthday today as well.
Happy birthday, Smittyj.
A lot of presents for him down as he collects the gold from those minions, and a bit of a present as well here for G2 as they spotted H2k doing the Rift Herald.
I mean, it's just really good game sense from them. They just took the Infernal. They know H2k is going to try to respond on the other side of the map, and they have the TP advantage. They can't quite get what they wanted onto Sheriff. He doesn't even have to use his flash to escape right there, and that means a lot in the long run, because that means Sheriff can get out. Gonna be a little sad because Shook was dead to rights there regardless, but still, overall, I think a good effort from H2k and Worth.
Yep, actually making plays on the map, I think, is a very strong position for them to be in. Let's have a look at where we stand in terms of items, though. Luden's Echo completed on Hjärnan. Wadid has the Moby boots. Got Skirmisher's Saber with the Warrior Enchant finished on PerkZ as well. So he is really scaling up 2-0-1 on that Lucian. Still
a little ways off for H2k to hit their first items, and you can see right now G2 want to take control over the map. If they have the shoving mid lane and can rotate top, all of a sudden Sheriff and Promisq, they can't push forward. They do not have a turret up there, and Shook isn't on the right side of the map to protect him. I think he needs to get up top side right now because his dual lane is in a terrible position. They can't even farm.
You have to step a long way back. No vision as well for them, as we say, up towards that top side. Jankos now roaming around by himself a little bit more. Level 7 on the Braum gives him that extra degree of safety. PerkZ has a 2-level advantage over Selfie here, who has just hit that level 10. Pops the Sanguine Pool and the Hemo Plague straight away. Hjärnan on his way as well, but PerkZ and G2 should just settle for the tower here. We'll be able to secure it and share it.
Oh my god!
That's a lot of damage from Hjärnan with the Luden's Echo.
Is that legal?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool.
I mean, that was...
you playtested it.
Yeah, did they even test this stuff? Insert broken champion here. Ask if we test it. Probably did. But Sheriff, he's testing it live and in action.
That he is. Interesting is, as we do have a tiny bit of downtime here, I do want to ask you about funnel comps, because you were a playtester in North America before you came over to be a caster here. Thank you so much for coming, obviously. But did you see funnel comps in your playtesting? Was it a strategy that you guys actually tried out and tested around with?
So I wouldn't say we ever went the maximum like we're seeing in pro play right now, but there were definitely strategies where you try to funnel the scuttle crabs into the carry, so you'd have a strong mid laner or a strong AD carry, and whenever it spawned on that side of the map, you would help them out to get that, and that was a pretty viable strategy. You know, with the random RNG, it meant if you had a strong mid lane jungle 2v2, you could do that, but never quite got to the point where we were having them farm all the jungle and everything in between.
Yeah, pros always find a way to adapt.
To ruin everything.
Yes, it's true. I remember Transcendence where you just built pure cooldown reduction.
That was bad.
That was very bad as well. But We are in a pretty fun meta to watch at the moment as Shook comes down towards this bottom lane. Hjärnan there with the Luden's teleport coming in, though. Wunder jumps forward. Shook comes in from the side. The kick, the knockback. That's a lot of damage onto him, and Sheriff comes in to try and solidify that final kill. But the rest of G2 are on their way. As you say, PerkZ behind the tower by himself. Wadid's going to knock himself across the wall as well, and PerkZ jumps forward. Smittyj with the engage. But the knock-up, the combo from G2 is unstoppable. The stun on Sheriff, and G2 say thank you very much.
H2k, they're trying to make the plays, but G2 punish. PerkZ is level 12 and running them over. Hjärnan even TPs into the top lane because they want all the resources they can possibly get.
Such good play from G2. At the start of this, you think maybe Wunder's overextended, but the follow-up is perfect.
But this is what I'm talking about. Wunder, he's pushing up in the bottom lane, so Hjärnan follows him to protect him when he moves forward. And Aatrox just buys so much time with that revive passive. Just puts H2k in a terrible position. They had no idea, they had no vision telling them PerkZ and Wadid were on the way, and were absolutely punished.
That double knock-up combo was beautiful. Hjärnan picks up the kills in the end, double for him. And we talked about it earlier. We said this was the weak point of G2, their bottom lane. Hjärnan, specifically, AD carry's last split, didn't really perform. This split, he is playing so much better. And you can say, it's just a funnel comp. It's easy. It is never easy to play at the highest level.
Oh, baby.
Knock-up landing onto Selfie and Promisq, and Promisq gets culled. Another kill for G2.
My word, 2 kills. Shook died at the end of that somehow.
Whoa.
And they're gonna get a turret at the same time. It's a 16-minute inner mid lane turret. And I'm not quite sure. G2 might not be done because there's not a whole lot of wave clear for H2k.
Yeah, basically nothing H2k can do here. Smittyj's not even coming to help defend the inhibitor. 16 minutes in and 30 seconds. G2 are going to take this inhib down. A 6,000 gold lead. And they have truly come online as a composition, and H2k have stalled out.
All right, G2, they're giving Misfits a run for their money for best team in EU. It's just funny because it's totally different styles, right? Misfits are pounding people in the early game. G2 are doing that as well, but with a completely different strategy, putting all of their resources into PerkZ. This man stepping up, Wunder too, just staying alive in those side lanes, making it happen. It is going to be one hell of a comeback if H2k can make it happen.
We've seen them make comebacks happen before. I remember a Fnatic game last split.
This is how Shook dies. Basically, Wunder hits him with his giant ball of stats really, really hard. PerkZ also hits Promisq with all his stats. The colon to the face, baby. It's pretty tough to play against.
It's very difficult to play against, especially since you can't really catch that single person out too easily. It's someone like a Lucian or a Kai'Sa, they're very mobile when they get into a team fight. You've got the ability to go invisible, the ability to dodge around. It's so difficult to actually lock them down. And if you don't have point and click, then you can't really kill them before they kill you.
Indeed. And now I think we have to ask for H2k, like, what do they do, right? You know, they didn't get that early advantage we wanted to see out of them. They lost their inhibitor already. They're not going to win in the early game. So you have to literally stall for as long as you possibly can, or get kills in the bot lane.
Go for a 4-man bot. Promisq does not hit the binding. Smittyj there with the chase as well. Soul Shackles used. And Wunder will go down here.
He's buying time, though. Here comes G2.
PerkZ is on his way. Wunder down first. Will PerkZ go for this engage? It's a 4v3.
No TP on Hjärnan either.
Decides just to come back towards the wave here. Promisq misses the binding once again. Selfie on his way down, though. Doesn't have the Predator, instead went for the Electrocute this game, so we'll find it slightly harder to join fights. And as you said, Hjärnan no TP, but he's still up towards that top lane.
I really wanted G2 to fight that. I wanted to see just what this Lucian could do. Black Shield, of course, going to stop that, but Wadid maybe in trouble.
This is what Sheriff can do, but he goes way too deep. PerkZ able to flash away from the stun. Smittyj exhausted up as well as G2. Look for the fight. Shook jumps in, gets a 2-man kick, but it's not enough as PerkZ culls him in the back. Promisq and Smittyj going low as well. Jankos with the flash forward. Winter Spike misses Sheriff because he flashes away. Sheriff tried to turn it back around, but the blue buff is now not on his side. Going to lifesteal off it a little bit, but what?
There's also a fight going on inside H2k's base.
Wunder teleported into the bases. Selfie somehow winning out the trade. Selfie comes up huge in the top lane.
There's so many things happening on the map. There's a split push in the top from Hjärnan, Wunder, Selfie. They're duking it out inside H2k's base, and H2k themselves as a unit, they're just barely holding on in that fight, disengaging from the madman that is PerkZ.
PerkZ is just in such a strong position now, almost at that black cleaver, being funneled all of this farm still. Selfie showed us that he can step up to the plate and make a key performance, but he's got to do that a few more times.
Jay, happy birthday, he's in the bush, he's fine. It was rough. If he took one more step forward, not going to look good for him.
Have to remember though, PerkZ has no flash now, Jankos neither, so if they can catch out this Lucian, if they can get the counter-strike on him or a binding or the Lee Sin kick, they can take him down. And so much of the G2 strategy does still rely on the Lucian being left alive.
So what happens here? Okay, so Selfie got some good stats too. Wunder's actually just running this entire time. If you're not auto-attacking on the Aatrox, you're not going to be regenning, and makes it a pretty quick pickup there for Selfie. He did use his flash, but got a decent shutdown onto Wunder.
I'm building up towards that Rabadon's death cap next as well. Smittyj has the Trinity Force, so he has some stats behind his stats now to help with the stat ball fight that we have going on. But starting away by G2, there's a ward outside this.
Pure perfect.
H2k know this is happening. Wadid and Jankos stepping in that front line, stepping forward. They're the bodyguards. Promisq there, PerkZ jumps in. Promisq Wunder now is the only one left in the pit. Shook has to jump away. Teleport being used in here by Smittyj. Maybe looking for a bit of a Barney around the Baron pit. Selfie's in the mid lane. Smittyj there, hiding in the bush, but there's a ward on him. Shook willing to jump across the wall. Baron down to 3,000. Selfie is still not in his mind, but Sheriff is. He's dead, and Wunder gets the shutdown kill. Shook tries to jump in. He doesn't have the smite because PerkZ puts G2 on his back once again, gets the double, cleans it up, and G2 destroy H2k.
G2 don't even give on. They stay right in that pit, beat H2k down, playing around that objective, and just 20 minutes in, this Hypercomp is so good at taking down the Baron.
Really good stuff from there. You can see at the end, Shook's like, I have to do something.
Oh, poor Sheriff. He's over it on the side by himself, trying to chip away. Wunder's like, what are you doing, man? I'm getting in there. I'm pounding down. Shook
97
was so
HP.
close. And he had to smite right away. Otherwise, he was going to die to the damage incoming. A valiant attempt by him, but G2 are just too strong.
Do you have to wonder where Selfie was during that fight, though? Was in the mid lane for a long time, decided not to come across and join his team. Maybe his ultimate wasn't quite back up. Maybe just didn't agree with the call that his team was making.
It's a lose-lose, right? Because you go in, you team fight, you're going to lose the fight. You go in for a Baron steal, it's very hard down 2 levels as this Lee Sin against the Lucian. So Selfie didn't want to commit and sacrifice himself, but maybe they can pick up Jankos.
We'll be able to jump aside with the stand beside me, and PerkZ gets him to safety. G2 at the moment just in such a dominant position. 8,000 gold ahead, 22 minutes in. Black Cleaver finished on PerkZ. He's got a QSS now just to keep himself even safer. Hjärnan with the Ardent Sensor. Looks like there's a Locket of the Alphari on its way forward. G2 could go for a dive here. We saw a moment ago the teamfight damage. Wunder actually putting out a lot of work in this game. H2k, final stand you have to feel. Selfie has the Hemo Plague, no flash for him though. PerkZ goes forward, Sheriff dodging to the side as much as he can, still only sitting at an item and a half on that Kai'Sa. Not fun.
Oh, PerkZ! Oh my god!
Oh my god, PerkZ does exactly what he needs to open up this game for G2. Smittyj now trying to jump back into him, but Smittyj, even with the stun, you cannot shut down PerkZ. Selfie in the midst of all of G2, he's done. Wunder gets the double, G2 get the inhibitor, and they're gonna take the base.
They're charging on board. Shook is trying to be a hero, but it's not enough. H2k will fall as G2 have their eyes set on the Nexus.
Too little, too late from Shook. H2k get demolished.
Get another one. Pad that KDA, baby.
One. He's a legend in the EU LCS. He's coming back for his title. PerkZ and G2 show us what they're made of. 4-0 in the first 2 weeks. The Nexus goes down, and G2 are on a tear.
Outstanding. Outstanding performance there from G2. It started off at level 1. Playing the funnel comp aggro in the early game, beating Shook inside his own jungle. I appreciate PerkZ hugging Jankos there. I know Jankos like, man, I contributed a lot with my 12 damage. PerkZ is on top of the world right now.
I mean, we can mock Jankos a little bit, but
You got
what he needed.
It might not be fun, but it makes it happen.
As a support main, sometimes you just got to get the job done. Sometimes you just got to sit by your AD carry and say, look, mate, I know you're going to try and in. I know you're going to try and kill yourself, but every now and again, I'll jump in front of you, I'll put up a shield, and I'll help you win the game, and that's exactly what Jankos and the rest of the G2 team did. Special credit as well to Wunder in that top lane. Was able to get the stats advantage over Smittyj.
Yeah, it was fantastic play out of him. G2 really just focusing in, mastering, perfecting this strategy, and it shows. Because I think in the first week, it was maybe a little bit shakier than it looked today. Today, no mistakes, hardly, you saw out of them. And they're just going to keep running with it, I feel like, until it doesn't work anymore. Until someone proves it's beatable.
Like it or not, the funnel comp is what peak performance looks like. Ender. H2k on the other side, though, will be pretty disappointed with this game. We talked about how you beat funnel comps. We know how you beat funnel comps. Early, aggressive jungling, early pressure on the map, and G2 just picked them apart.
Just having a ward in the tri-brush, having someone spotting out for Shook, could have changed so much in this game because all the momentum that he was supposed to have with that champion pick was just flown out the window as soon as he died at level 1.
And then they sort of got it back for a second.
They almost did, right? He made that play in the bottom lane. That was one of my favorite things to see in the game, honestly, was Shook making an aggressive and offensive play on that champion. But that was it. After that, G2 buckled it back in, took it to victory.
Let's have a look at some of the highlights from that game, especially from PerkZ. This is brought to you by Acer Predator. And I mean,
which ones, right? There's so many.
So many highlights from PerkZ. Some of his plays were absolutely beautiful. Secured this Baron for the team.
Right, PerkZ jumps straight over the wall, blows Promisq up immediately. I mean, I thought Yasuo was good in the last game. Lucian looked fantastic in this one as well. I think G2 as a team played this setup fantastically. They stopped Shook from getting in the pit for so long, waited until Sheriff stepped forward to engage this team fight and tear H2k apart.
And PerkZ just stayed on the Baron when he needed to as well. You can see Shook,
so
97
close.
HP.
So
maybe if they get that, they delay the game a little bit. Maybe they don't lose off the push, but...
You just can't do that to a man. That was a culling one-shot. You don't see that every day, and it didn't stop there because he jumped straight back in, has a QSS to make it so he can't get caught, and turns it around with Wunder and crew.
And G2 all round, I think after seeing Misfits' game today and after seeing G2's game today, I'm going to give first spot to G2, personally. I think they are slightly stronger all round, however, they have only really played one playstyle.
But in the last game, you said Misfits are going to win the split, so...
I said that, and then I saw G2.
Okay.
I think Misfits will win the split, because I think funnel comps, people will start to understand more. But at the moment, I think G2 are the better team.
I just want to see Misfits match up against G2. Take funnel against early game offense. Whew, that'll be fun.
That will be a lot of fun. Now, remember to give us your play of the game at LOL Esports on Twitter. Wunder, Jankos, and PerkZ are your options. And please, 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 it's Jankos. Jankos did all the work.
What?
PerkZ got the kills. Jankos did it all.
He played a great Braum. He auto-attacked to proc concussive blows.
He flash queued a couple of times.
That was pretty sweet.
That's pretty good.
He did get first blood. He helped out with the flash forward there, so.
Well, we've got Piratechnics standing by with your Polish perspective player of the game, Jankos. Let's hear what he has to say.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. So, Jankos, you guys are absolutely on a tear right now, but things have changed a little bit for you. I have to ask you, how is it being a support main?
Yeah, I mean, I guess when Miffy left, someone had to take over the support king role, so here's me. I'm the support king now. It's so boring, by the way. Never playing support again in my life.
So maybe they'll let you take Smite in one of the future games. Do you guys have a lot of different strategies prepared, or are you just doing this because this funnel comp is what's working for you right now?
I mean, I believe that we have some other strategies prepared, but as long as it works and we feel like it's correct in certain games, then we just go for it. But I also have a message for Riot Games. Please just change the gold funneling strat so I don't need to play Braum again. But I think it's fun. I really think it's fun. Don't get me wrong, I love the fact that you can play everything everywhere you want, and I love the fact that sometimes you can go for the gold funneling instead of normal jungle. I think it's fun. Maybe my team is just not being nice and they are just douchebags and they're just putting me on Braum every game. Maybe it's because of my team, I don't know, but yeah, it's just so boring sometimes when you're just sitting on stage and you're just like shielding people and like hitting minions, and I honestly don't know how support players can play supports.
Well, you're learning about what it's like. Now, you definitely made a few fans in the audience today. Jankos, let me rewind a little bit. Let's go back to your team right now, because the fact of the matter is you're still 4-0. Do you feel like, because I've already asked Misfits, and they definitely feel the same way, do you feel like G2 Esports is the #1 team in Europe right now?
I mean, I feel like compared to last split, we improved a lot. And I feel like right now, we are way more together as a team. And it shows in our games for sure. Last split, we started 1-3. This split, we started 4-0. And I believe that we are the best team in Europe now, but we also play way different strategy than Misfits. I mean, they don't play as much the gold funneling one. And I believe we will face them in week 4, so after Rift Rivals. So there's still like so much time. And I think the next patch will hit next week, so we'll see what will change. And I'm really excited to play Fnatic as well next week.
I wanted to ask you about that. Yeah, you guys still have to pick up that win against Fnatic. Are you feeling confident you get that revenge next week?
I mean, I'm pretty sure if I play Braum, we will win, yeah.
Well, there you have it. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and Fnatic and Vitality will be up next, so do not go anywhere. You won't want to miss it.
Here comes the teleport in from Smittyj as well. There's the flash kick. Sheriff jumps in as well with the VoD of H2k. That's one. Now they look for Hjärnan underneath the tower. Smittyj can't land the counter strike, but Hjärnan still under the tower is going to get caught out. Smittyj will solidify this kill. Great stuff from H2k. PerkZ jumps forward. Smittyj with the engage. With the knock up, the combo from G2 is unstoppable. The stun on Sheriff, and G2 say thank you very much.
I'm going on Kai'Sa.
Okay.
I killed D2. I killed D2.
Okay,
Kill it.
Ah! I died, guys. I died.
PerkZ and G2 show us what they're made of. 4-0 in the first 2 weeks. The Nexus goes down, and G2 are on a tear.